Baseball Hell is a production of Monkey Butt Enterprises. No animals were harmed in the making of this podcast.
Well, hello once again, everybody. It's May 13th, and you're in Baseball Hell. I'm Tommy the K, along with my esteemed co-host, Ward Davis the Ninth. Say hello to the people, Davis.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Tommy. What are you doing?
Oh, man, I'm recovering from a short bout with illness. I'm not sure whether it was COVID or not, but it felt exactly like COVID did back in January when I had it. Then I got about a day and a half into it, and I remembered that I had saved 2 doses of the experimental antiviral drug Paxlovid from my January experience. And I took one of those doses, and lo and behold, within about 24 hours, I was back on my feet, took the second dose, and here I am, back at your service.
Right. A lot of people said it couldn't be done. It's kind of like me, Tommy. I always keep two boxes of Kraft macaroni and cheese just in the back of the cupboard, just in case, you're hungry at about
That's a
11:30
good
at night.
idea.
And,
You
you
mind
know,
if I write that down?
sure.
Okay.
Kraft, Kraft.
Did you ever make Kraft macaroni and cheese when you didn't have milk?
Well, what would you use? No, I don't think
Nothing.
I've ever
You
done
just maybe put a little extra margarine.
that. Well, how did that turn out?
Well, I mean, it's better than being hungry. Yeah, because it was supposed to have a quarter cup of milk and then like a half a stick of butter or margarine, right? Usually you had margarine because it was like 50 cents for 4 sticks of that. You'd never have milk. You always ran out of milk, so you make it with no milk and just give it an
Right.
extra few stirs. Try to get the grit out of that powdered cheese.
A lot of times when you're struggling you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah, we used to make macaroni and cheese surprise, and the surprise was like whatever you had to throw in it, like a can of tuna or a little bit of ground beef left over, something like that.
Oh, the tuna, yeah. Tuna, I know that a lot of people eat tuna in their mac and cheese, but
It's not that great. And one time I was really hungry and I wanted to make macaroni and cheese surprise, and the only surprise I had was a can of green beans.
oh boy, did you drain them?
Yeah, I did drain it, but it wasn't too good.
Speaking of cooking things, though, did you ever put a frozen pizza in and accidentally put it in upside down and then put it in the oven about 400?
I'm assuming you did.
Yeah, what happens? Yeah, I did that one time. And I thought I smelled something burning, and I thought I smelled some like I thought I saw some smoke in the apartment, and I opened the thing up, and I'm like, oh my God! And it's the cheese is melting, and it's going down. It looked like going into a cave with the stalagmite, and I look. When I went into the oven to get the pizza, it was like I was spelunking in a cave. It was just all this stuff at that.
One question for you: did you eat it anyway?
Yes, yes.
When you get one of those really low budget frozen pizzas, it can actually be hard to tell what side the cheese is on because they put so little on it.
That's right. I could not tell what side it was.
Now, you talk about putting a pizza in upside down, but my trick was to come home really drunk and put a pizza in and then fall asleep and then wake up, about 5 hours later and the entire apartment was completely filled with smoke and
I have made fire!
and you still look for a salvageable part. I did once go to a hotel, and it wasn't a high end hotel, and they said, well, we have pizzas here, and we can cook them up. They're like $5, and you just put them in that toaster oven over there. I said, oh, good. How long does that take? And he said, about 7 minutes. So I said, well, I'm going to drop my bag off in my room. I get in my room, I drop my bag off. I kind of forget about it. I go out to the lobby where this toaster oven is. Bad idea for this hotel. I go out to the lobby. It's completely burned. There's smoke through the lobby. I said, I'm very sorry. I pay the guy, and I said, I'm going to pay you for another one. I'm going to put another one on. And for some reason, he said, okay. And I did. I went back to my room,
oh
and
no.
true story, I come back. Oh, geez, it's smoking again. 2 pizzas burned. And he by this point, this gentleman who was working at night at this hotel was not too pleased with me, I would say. But I apologized profusely, and I said, I told him the 2 words I thought he wanted to hear. My fault.
My blow.
I'm going to my room now that doesn't smell like smoke.
And you will stay down here where it does.
Till 6 in the morning with those. It's still simmering in the garbage. Anyway,
Oh my gosh.
well, what about baseball this week, Tommy?
Well, a little bit of baseball this week. On the Cardinals side, they played a very little bit of baseball. Yeah, had a rough week. 1-6. They finally capped off a 7-game losing streak. And I was looking at this, and I was thinking about this a lot last year because last year was a rough year too. And I was always thinking, God, when in my lifetime have the Cardinals ever been this bad? Because, they've fortunately for me, they've not been a team that, had a lot of years in last place. And a lot of people would talk about the 1990 team that was pretty bad. For me, the team, and I'm a little bit older. I was born in '64, so for me, the team that always comes through as the worst Cardinal team of my lifetime was the 1978 team, and they went 69-93. They started the year managed by the legendary Vern Rapp.
I like Vern Rapp.
Yes, you did. I know why, because he had the Cardinals making a beeline for last place. Yep.
Just like you like Preston Gomez when he was the manager of the Cubs in 1980 or so. But go ahead.
Yeah, he was good. Yeah, so Rapp got him off to a 6-11 start, and they fired him because he had been there the previous year. And remember, he pissed everybody off on the team because he had that strict hair policy. Remember, no facial hair, no long hair, and by long hair he meant not even a beetle cut, right? It was like you had to have a buzzed over the ears. And remember, he made Rabowski shave off that giant Fu Manchu
Oh yeah,
mustache that it probably took him about 8 years to grow.
he wasn't very good without it.
He was serving up home run balls on purpose. I swear to God, he was doing that. But as bad as that team was, right? Well, they averaged 3.7 runs per game. And that was with no DH, right?
Yeah,
This is 1978. The Cardinals now, with DH, are scoring 3.4 runs per game. And I went in, just was looking at some of the stats the other day. The problem was they allowed 4.05 runs per game, but their ERA was only 3.58. That's a pretty good team ERA, and they actually had a decent starting staff. They had John Denny. He won a Cy Young a few years after leaving the Cardinals. He was 14-11 with a 2.96. Pete Vukovich 12-12 with a 2.54 earned run average. Bob Forsch had 3.7, and they had a rookie named Silvio Martinez who won. He went 9-8 with a 3.64, and he pitched a couple one hitters that year.
oh,
So their starting pitching, really wasn't that bad. They had Mark Littell in the bullpen. He had 11 saves. He pitched 106 innings. That's a lot of innings for a back end reliever. 2.79 ERA. Now here's a guy, Dave, John Urea. They used to call him Gonorrhea. He pitched 98 innings he had a 5.38 ERA.
right. He eventually went blind, didn't he?
Yes, yes, he did. And on the offense, they were pretty bad. An aging Lou Brock hit 221, 514 ops. The great Mike Tyson took a break from boxing to bat 233 and play second base. They had
Ah,
speedster Ken Reitz on third at 246 with a 637 ops. Jerry Morales playing right field, batted 239.
yeah, he was at the end of his career too.
Yeah, well, they really had some dogs on the offense now, but they did have a few sticks. They had Ted Simmons. Simmons hit 287. He had an 889 ops. That's pretty damn good. Silent George Hendrick, 288 with
Oh
an
yeah,
834 ops. A young Keith Hernandez batted
I was going to say
255.
Keith Hernandez was on there.
And everyone in St. Louis's favorite shortstop, the Wizard, Gary Templeton, batted 280, 680. He was a wizard with his middle fingers.
The great Oz has spoken.
That's right. He was very free with that. Now that was a straight up swap they got for the actual wizard, Ozzie Smith, wasn't it?
Boy, that turned out to be a great.
Was that a Herzog deal?
Yeah, that was a Herzog deal. So Ken Boyer took over, and he didn't do too much better. He went 62 and 81. He ended up getting fired a couple of years later in favor of Whitey. But I was thinking about this because when the Cardinals finally won a game on Sunday, there was a lot of rumors that came out today, and we're recording a day late today. It's Monday, but there was a lot of rumors that if the Cardinals had lost that fourth game in Milwaukee on Sunday, that Marmol was going to get let go. And I heard that on St. Louis radio and a couple of daily podcasts that I listened to today. So I don't know how much truth there is to it, but it really was starting to feel that way, having watched all those games. But I thought about Vern Rapp getting fired, thinking about Marmol getting fired, but it made me think about former Cub manager Joe Madden and his firing experience when he was with the Angels. So Joe Madden got fired by Perry Manassian, of the general manager of the Los Angeles Angels. And the funny thing about that was Madden, after having gotten off to a good start that year with the Angels, was on a 12-game losing streak. And in order to excite his players or kind of change the culture and relax them, he went and got a mohawk haircut. So here's Joe Madden gets called into Perry Manassian's office. My theory is Manassian wanted to talk to him about strategy and how do we dig out of this hole. He says, "Hey, come on in, Joe, sit down." Madden sits down in his chair, takes off his hat. Manassian looks up from his desk and says, "Ah, shit, now I got to fire this son of a bitch." He wasn't even planning on firing him till he took off his hat and he saw that there's a 68-year-old guy with a mohawk.
You're thinking this guy from he could have possibly saved his job for one more year, or at least the beginning of the year, had he not gotten the mohawk. That's a lesson out there, people.
So anyway, yeah, Cardinals week. They started off their at home versus the Mets. First game, they got Kyle Gibson pitching. They get behind 1-0 in the first inning. Mets tack on two more in the fifth. Cards are down 3-0. They come back. Contreras and Herrera double home runs, tie the game up at 3-3 in the bottom of the sixth. But in the top of the seventh, Nimmo homers off of Kittredge. And this really was Kittredge's first bad outing of the year. He's just been stellar up until this point. Puts the Mets up 4-3, and the Cards go out with a whimper in the seventh, eighth, and ninth, and can't manage any runs to come back. That was their third straight loss because if you'll recall, they were coming off losing Saturday and Sunday to the White Sox. So the week doesn't get off to a great start for the Cardinals. Game two, once again at home against the Mets. First inning, Brendan Donovan hits a solo home run. Arenado gets a sacrifice fly. Alec Burleson drives in a run with an RBI single. Cards are up 3-0. Top of the second, disaster strikes. JD Martinez takes a big swing, and Contreras is tucked in there real tight underneath, trying to steal strikes, reaches out a little bit, and gets his forearm broken. And this is a pretty bad fracture. The reports back, it's going to be, it did require surgery. Contreras has had surgery, and he's out for 6 to 8 weeks, potentially longer. This not going to be something easy to come back from.
Especially since he was one of the few people hitting on the
He
team.
is just about the only guy with any consistent offensive production all season for the Cardinals. I mean, it really couldn't have been a worse blow for the team at that point. Top of the fifth, once again, Brandon Nimmo strikes with a 3-run homer. We're tied 3-3. Alonso, a 2-run double. Michaelis has a total meltdown. Martinez, RBI single. Mets are up 6-3 after having trailed 3-0. Bottom of the sixth, Alec Burleson, a solo homer, brings it to 6-4, but Alonso matches that in the top of the ninth with the solos. Newt Barr hits a solo home run in the bottom of the ninth, but the Cardinals lose 7-5. And you're starting to hear a common theme here. When the Cardinals hit a home run, it is a solo homer. They hit 6 home runs this week, every one of them a solo homer. They did have 11 hits, 3 home runs in this game, left 10 on base, 2 for 10 with runners in scoring position. That's been their problem all year. They're actually getting a good number of people on base, especially this week, but not driving them in. Their batting average with runners in scoring position is sub 200, I believe, at this point. Michaelis's ERA 6.43. Mercifully, Game 3 was rained out, and the Cardinals got a break.
I remember you contacted me and said the Cardinals avoided a sweep,
Yes, they
and
did.
I thought, oh, they must have won because I didn't know what the score was, and then you said postponed.
So let's talk about the Cubs' first series.
They were home against San Diego. Justin Steele's back, and from his opening day injury, hamstring, he's going up against Yu Darvish, and he's scoreless after 5. It's a good pitching matchup. But here comes here comes the bullpen. Lovelady and Palencia. They give up 6 runs in the 6th inning.
Jesus Christ.
Cubs get 3 back. They leave the bases loaded with nobody out. I believe in the 8th inning and don't score. And then it was that game over. Cubs lose 6-3.
I'm guessing as a Cub fan that you have no love lost for Lovelady.
I keep hearing how he's got, because the Cubs staff is, a lot of them they're getting more hard throwers now, and he's one of the hard throwers. But I think that they're trying, the Cubs still have a lot of guys on the staff who more finesse pitchers. But Lovelady is one of those guys who can throw, but he hasn't had much success. And
Yeah.
Palencia is hit or miss. He can be outstanding. He could be eventually. It could be a good, possibly a closer, I think, but inconsistent. So you can't be.
Yeah, both of those guys really killed the Cubs there. Lovelady threw a third of an inning, gave up 3 hits, 3 runs. He exits with a 7.36 ERA. Palencia, 1 inning, 3 hits, 3 runs, and a 6.55 ERA.
Right. So the 6-3, they dropped the first game. They got a
But they're 21-15.
21-15. And that's been the kind of the key all year. They lose some games and then they come right back, and they did it again on Tuesday against San Diego. Imanaga again was brilliant. He
Mm-hmm.
pitches about 7 scoreless again.
At this point, the Cubs' starting pitching had 29 consecutive scoreless innings.
Right. And then Craig Counsell decides to put him out there in the 8th, even though he had 90, close to 100 pitches. And he sent him back out because I think that he realized that they were going to pinch hit Arias out of the bench, and he thought that would be the best matchup. But Arias gets a base hit, he singles, and then Jackson Profar gets a 2-run home run, and
Padres are up
all of
20.
a sudden the Cubs, who had only scored 1 run, by the way, that run was
Bellinger.
a Bellinger. Cody Bellinger came
A
back
belly
in this
bomb,
game.
as I
A
heard it
belly
called.
bomb. It's a home run, and they had taken a 1-0 lead, but now they're down 2-1, and Imanaga's ERA jumps to 1.08 with that 2-run homer.
I saw on the highlights though a great play by Horner on a pop up to save another run from scoring that inning.
Yeah, he's been making some unbelievable plays, and another one later on this week I'll tell you about too. But Amani comes in the 8th, does a job. And then Hector Neris, some people call him Hector Nervous, or Heart Attack Hector. He comes up, of
Yeah,
course, 2 guys get on, but he gets out of it, no runs. And in the bottom of the inning, with the rain starting and lightning in the distance,
just like the natural.
a dramatic walk-off home run from Michael Busch. The Cubs' first walk-off win this year, by the way.
Oh, really?
He hits his 7th home run. I think it's the first one since he had that 5-game streak. Cubs pull it out. So they get the rubber game on Wednesday, and that's not much to say there. 2 words I'll say. Dylan Cease, who was a
Yeah,
former Cubs draft choice. He throws 7 innings, gives up only 1 hit, and it was an infield hit to Yan Gomes in the 3rd. Strikes out 12, walks only 2. Peralta and Suarez come in the 8th and 9th. Cubs strike out 15 times in the game with 1 hit, and of course they lose. And they lose the series 2-1.
Wisniewski pitched okay in his 6 innings, 3 runs.
He
I
did.
mean, got to be pretty happy with that young man. 1.59 ERA.
Definitely. There's a lot to be happy with some of these young pitchers, and then
Yeah.
there's some holes to be fixed with the bullpen, but
Cubs at this point they are 22 and 16. The Cardinals, on the other hand, 15 and 21, according to my notes here at that point. So that kind of brings us to our halftime. I wanted to talk about a couple of rule change proposals, a couple things that are bugging me. This extra inning thing where you start off with a runner on second base, I'm tired of it already.
yes, I agree.
I mean, you don't want to see a team lose a game because a guy hits a ground ball to second base and the next guy hits a fly ball and the game's over. I don't know. I think it's kind of lame. I know they're trying to speed things up, but I think they should start with the runner on first base. It seems like a simple enough adjustment to solve that problem, right? That way, in all likelihood, you need a hit to score, or you at least have to swipe second base early in the count when the first batter's up to.
Right. It opens up double play opportunity. Having a guy on second base, they think, well, we'll expedite, we'll have somebody score, but everybody has the same chance as if you didn't put anybody else on the bases. Everybody has
Yeah.
that same chance. So,
Well, I mean, they're trying to prevent these 16, 17, 18 inning games, and I get it. But
yeah,
I think having a runner on first
I like 16 inning games. I really do. You know, you
would.
can.
Have you ever sat through one? I never did. I've never been to a game that way.
On a cold rainy night at Comiskey, the old Comiskey Park, not the new one, the old Comiskey Park with the White Sox. I think it was like 1991 maybe, and the White Sox were playing the Twins, and the Twins had all their stars in their World Series, Herbig and Kirby Puckett and all that. And this game went about 14 innings. It was cold, it was rainy, and I thought,
Hmm.
one more inning, and that's it. One more inning, one more inning. Now,
And they stopped selling beer after 7 innings.
yeah, I think they did. I'm not really sure, but it was cold and rainy. I didn't really want too much, but yeah, it was one of those games that I just kept saying one more inning, one more inning. Now, having said that, I was in
Uh-huh.
my late 20s at the time. Today, no, um, it wouldn't have happened. I would have said, that's good luck, especially since I'm not a Twins or a White Sox fan. But it was a great game, and there was extra innings. But here's another thing that bugged me about the guy on second base. He makes the last out in the last inning. That's the guy who was on second base,
Yeah,
right? If he scores, he gets
yeah.
credit for a run scored, even though he made the last out in the previous inning. I don't think that's right.
Does he get that? Does he get that? Because they don't count it as an earned run against the pitcher. Does the guy on second get to count it as a run scored?
They don't count that as a earned run.
They don't. No. No, they call it the commissioner's run or something. That we'll charge that run to the commissioner. Yeah, I know it doesn't count against the pitcher. But yeah, someday somebody will break the record for most runs scored, and he'll have scored 3 or 4 runs in extra innings off of that cheap rule, and there goes all credibility of baseball. Yeah.
I do like your idea of putting the guy in first base.
I have another idea, Davis. When you pull your starting pitcher, you lose the DH.
Okay, explain why that would be.
Now you have a great mixture of the old American League game with the DH, but late in the game, when you're going to your bullpen, now you come down to your bench as well as your bullpen. And your manager has to have that strategy. Now you've got the strategy of the old National League game intertwined with the excitement of not watching pitchers strike out because nobody's going to let that relief pitcher bat anyway. You'll never see a pitcher bat unless it's desperate situation. The fans will still never have to watch a pitcher bat, and you'll get that strategy, and the bench will be a much more important part of the game.
When you first said that, Tommy, I didn't think that that was such a good idea.
That's what you usually say about most of my ideas.
Well, yeah, and I'm usually right about that. But anyway, it's just
Okay, let me give you another benefit of this rule. That will get rid of this ridiculous, we're going to have an opener pitch this game. And a guy pitches a third of an inning or 2/3 of an inning and they pull him out. Okay, we'll go ahead and do
yes.
that. But you just lost your DH. And that'll start
Oh, I
getting
see.
pitchers a little more value to a starting pitcher who can do more than 5 innings.
Yeah. So I would think that you would maybe put your DH up early in case your starter gets shelled.
See, more strategy.
And if and then and to watch the starting pitcher suffer, it might take him out if he gives up 6 runs in the first. But no, you got to if you give up 12 runs, we're going to keep you in there.
You
We need
got
a
to stay in.
DH. You're going to stick it.
Yes.
I like it. And I didn't like that one at first.
Yes, you'll have to balance it again like they used to. Go back and look at rosters from uh, National League in the 80s and 90s. They carried 10 pitchers, maybe 11, usually 10, because you needed those position players and you had to balance between the number of relievers you had and the number of pinch hitters that you had on your bench. Now everybody carries 13 pitchers and they don't feel bad at all about pulling a guy out after 4 innings. Anyway, I rest my case.
I think you possibly have convinced me, Tommy.
I sell. I'm telling you, I sell.
I like that. I've been thinking about rule changes. Then my mind started going toward ideas for other baseball leagues. There's tons of leagues, and kind of like the NBA. I don't know if it was affiliated with the NBA, but there was a group that tried to start this 6'1" or 6'2" and under, or 6 foot and under basketball league. And I got to thinking about it, and I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if you had a baseball league with everybody 7 foot or over? And
Okay.
now you wouldn't have many teams because you're not really. So then I got to think, how can you do this? But how about a 300-pound league, baseball league? You have to be 300
I
pounds.
like
You
that
get weighed
better.
in. You get weighed in before every game, kind of like boxing. And you can have people over 7 foot. They're usually over 300 pounds. Uh, but it would have to be like, I don't know. Is this a good idea? You liking this so far?
I think you're onto something.
The games would only be about 5 inning games. But there's a lot of 300-pound athletes who are. You look at football. You got guys who are running 4.40s, in football, or
Yeah.
and they're 320-pound linemen. So you'd still get some good athletes, of course. You're looking for the best, but
Behind the mound, they could have a little area dug out where the pitcher could have a big water jug.
or a big gulp. It's only a 5 inning game, so the buffet has to be set out early. Uh,
Catcher is allowed to block the plate.
Yeah, but you get a hot game in St. Louis, you're going to start losing some weight. They might have to weigh somebody in after the third inning. Like I think you're down to 298. You're out of the game.
Any player finishes the game at under 300 pounds, you forfeit.
No pickoff attempts because you want to see these guys try to steal second.
I
I
like
don't
it.
know. It might not be a good idea, but 5 inning games, 300-pound or more league, and of course your pitchers are 300 pounds too. So
Yeah, I like it. If it was the 70s, ESPN would have shown
oh, definitely. It was just Australian football then.
it. And ping pong, yeah,
Ping pong, Australian
anything.
football. And then the highlights would come on. You'd have to wait till like 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, with Tom Mees and Sal Marciano. Those
Tom
guys.
Mees. Is that the guy with the high
Yeah.
forehead?
Yes, yes, he did have a head for it. And I believe, and this is a tragic story, but I believe he died, and he died trying to save his daughters in a swimming accident.
Well, I'm looking at it here, and it says he was only 46 years old. He didn't know how to swim, and he drowned in a neighbor's swimming pool. They said that he had initially said that he had jumped into the pool to save his younger daughter, but later said they didn't know how he ended up in the water, and they classified his death as an accident. So there you have it. So 46. I didn't know that he'd passed away. God bless him.
You're big on X, aren't you, Dave? I see you're tweeting all the time, aren't you?
Yeah, I only tweet when I go out bird watching. Let me ask you something about that. What happens to people when they get older and they just start watching birds? I don't see too many. I'm sure there's a good amount of younger people who are into birds, but all of a sudden,
I think
people
there
get
are.
old and they retire, and they're like, well, I guess what am I going to do now? Let me get a book about birds and find out what their species are, and then I'm going to go out and just go around and see if I can identify them.
I think typically they say, "Let me get a book about birds and I'll carry it around with me while I'm looking in my neighbor's windows at their daughters. And if they catch
Oh,
me, I'll say I was trying to look at these birds."
right.
I heard that's what guys do. I didn't think of that myself, Dave. I just want you to know.
Wait a minute.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay, hey, it's time to talk about the Cardinals series number 2 of the week. Now they went in for 4 games at the hated Milwaukee Brewers. So the lowly Cardinals stumble in at 15-21 on the heels of a 4-game losing streak. Game number 1, this was a real thriller. Sonny Gray started this game, so the Cardinals had high hopes. He lasts 5 innings, gives up 6 earned runs, 3 home runs smacked off of Sonny Gray. He was pulled back down to reality. He came in with an ERA under 1 and left with a 2.29. They were just in trouble very early on. There was a bad play by Arenado at third that opened up the floodgates. The runners at first and second, he tried to tag the guy going to third and he missed him. It should have been either gone to second and then tried to go to first, or just stood in the guy's path and took the lead runner out and got him at third, but he didn't. And then just seemed like all hell broke loose after that. 2-run homer by Hoskins, 3-0 the first inning. Jake Bauer hits a solo home run. It's 4-0. Newt Bar, I told you about Lars Nootbaar. Hit a solo homer and brought the Cardinals to 4-1. That was as close as they were going to get. Ortiz hit a solo shot for the Brewers in the fourth. Top of the fifth, Cardinals trying to mount a comeback. Bases loaded, nobody out, and they do what they usually do. Um, this time they had the 2, 3, 4 batters in the lineup come up, and they scored no runs.
We will be perfect in every aspect of the game.
Mm. With the 2, 3, and 4 coming up.
2, 3, and 4 coming up with nobody out. They get
Oh
no
boy.
runs. Not even close. Anyway, this one gets out of hand. Fifth straight loss. Cardinals had 6 hits, went 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position, left 10 men on base. The second game, they lose 11-2
Jesus Christ.
to tally their 6th straight loss. It was tough though because they had to take a major league debut by Robert Sandy Koufax Gasser,
Right.
pitching his first game, shuts the Cardinals out for 6 innings, only gives up 2 hits. Brewers score 2 in the bottom of the fourth, score 5 more in the bottom of the fifth. This one's over, all but the crying. Top of the ninth, Nolan Gorman hits a meaningless solo homer for his 5th of the year. Like I said, 11-2 final. Lance Lynn started this one, 4 2/3 innings, 5 runs. So Cardinals then go into the third game. They lose their 7th straight game, losing 5-3 to the Brewers. Bottom of the third, Gibson hits a batter, Bowers with the bases loaded, so it's 1-0 Brewers. Top of the fifth, Cardinals actually take the lead 2-1. Nootbaar gets a 2-run single. Top of the sixth, Nolan Gorman, a 2-out, 1-run RBI double, gets Cards up 3-1. Looks like they might be able to pull this one out. Gibson in the bottom of the sixth, though, loads the bases with nobody out. Jojo Romero comes in, saves the day for the moment, only gives up 1 run. Again, by a bases loaded hit batsman. Cardinals have given up both Brewer runs at this point to bases loaded hit batsman, 3-2. Bottom of the seventh, though, Hoskins strikes again, hits a 3-run homer off Kittredge, his second bad outing in a row, where he's
Yeah.
given up a game deciding home run. Goldschmidt, he's 0 for 32. Actually, he did get a hit at the end of this game. He was 0 for 32, came up with 2 outs in the top of the ninth. He was 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts up to that point, and he got a single. That was the Brewers' 8th straight win against the Cardinals. Cardinals are 15-24, so they stumble into game number 4. They miraculously pull this one out and win 4-3. Goldschmidt comes through in this game. Michaelis starts off Michaelis, the starting pitcher, bottom of the first, throws over 40 pitches. Brewers score 3 runs. He would have thrown probably 50 pitches. The inning ended on a play at the plate. Burleson threw out a runner trying to score for the third out, or who knows, Michaelis, he might not have even made it through the first. To his credit, though, somehow Michaelis recovers, pitches 5 scoreless innings after that. So he lasted 6. Top of the fifth, Goldschmidt hits a solo home run, puts the Cardinals within 1 run. It's 3-2 Brewers. Then in the top of the sixth, Goldschmidt gets a 2-out RBI single. I think they were trying to intentionally walk him because they had a lefty on lefty situation with the next batter. They got cute and threw him a nice pitch, and he got a base hit and scored the run there. Bases not loaded, but Nolan Gorman flies out. Top of the seventh, Mike Ciani. He's actually been the best hitter for the Cardinals in the month of May. Can you believe
Yeah,
that?
he's done well. Field running.
Very speedy. He's a very good center fielder, and he was hitting over 400, which means they had to bench him when Dylan Carlson came back. So
Oh
Ciani,
boy,
the only guy hitting the ball since Contreras is out, they throw him down to the bench until Carlson goes 0 for 16, and they finally realize it's the same old Dylan Carlson. He's not
right?
going to hit.
Has he gotten a hit yet?
No, sir. So anyway, the Cardinals pull this one out. They win it 4-3, despite early efforts by Miles Michaelis to throw this game away. Good credit to the offense coming back. They scored more than 3 runs in 25 of their first 39 games. The Cardinals scored 3 runs or less. That's how feeble this offense has been. And as I mentioned earlier, they hit 6 home runs this week, all solo. So they finished the week. Cardinals are 16-24. They went 1-6.
And a minus 51 run differential.
Oh, and on that note, yeah, minus 51 run differential for the Cardinals as we speak. The 1978 Cardinals, with that horrible offense, finished the year with a minus 57. This team's on pace to double or triple that deficit.
Well, the Cubs they had a much needed day off. I think they had like something like 14, 16 games in a row. So Thursday, after getting one hit, they get their day off. And then, so now the Pirates come to town on Friday, and the Pirates have certainly cooled down from their initial 9-2 start. And it's 2-2.
Now this is in Pittsburgh though, right? They're playing in Pittsburgh.
They're in Pittsburgh. The Cubs go on the road after their day off. And by the way, they entered Friday hitting 195 in their last 12 games with 109 strikeouts going into
Really?
Friday's game. So
Ooh,
their hitting has been, I know they've had injuries.
struggling. But they've had that outstanding starting pitching.
The starting pitchers kept them in just about every game. So they break the 2-2 tie with 5 runs in the 6th and 7th innings. They have 14 hits on the day. Bellinger, now he's back. He has 4 more hits as a DH, including a 7th homer. Cubs made some errors, 2 by Morrell in the field, and Bush not being able to handle a throw at first base. He's got a lot to learn about handling those throws at first base, but especially with Morrell at third. But Assad started for the Cubs. He struggled. He had 89 pitches, but he held them, the Pirates, to 1 run. And then in relief, Ben Brown shut him down. He threw 3 2/3. He had 6 strikeouts. They bring Alzolay in the 9th, and again, and they trusted him this time, and they think, okay, he's in the 9th, but he's got a 5-run lead. Well, he gives up a hit, and then he faces McCutchen. And McCutchen comes up to the Pirates, hits the ball, looks like it's going into the stands. Ian Happ, a Pittsburgh native, kills Pittsburgh. I think he's reached 50-some games in a row when he's played against Pittsburgh.
He kills the Cardinals too.
And he reaches over the wall and grabs the ball from McCutchen's bat. It would have been another 2-run home run from that Alzolay would have given up. But he reaches over the wall and he catches the ball. He said that afterward, I feel badly about this because McCutchen, I grew up in Pittsburgh, McCutchen was my hero. And here I go. You can imagine what that feeling would be. He just robbed him of a home run. But so they get out of the inning.
So Alzolay's pitching woes are not over.
No, after that catch, I think there was a double play ball or something like that, and he kind of pounded his glove, but not as hard as he usually did when he was doing well. Just kind of like, thank you. Game two was the most interesting one, though. Crazy game. Justin Steele is hit. He gives up 6 earned runs, 6 hits, a couple walks in 4 innings. Comes down 6-1 going into the fifth inning. But and by the way, Suzuki's back too.
Skeens was tough, but they just drafted him, right?
Last year he was the number
Yeah.
one of all pick, and
Okay, that's why they're making such a big deal.
yeah, they said he's like another Strasburg or Mark Pryor.
Yeah, I mean the Cardinals got like 8 guys that they've drafted number one in the last 6-7 years, and not one of them's made it to the majors.
Yeah, well, this guy was number one, and he was the very first pick of the draft completely. But anyway, he goes 4 innings. He gives up 3 runs charged to him because after he leaves, and he gave up 6 hits, and but he was struck out 7 in 4 innings. And then this guy Nichols comes in. He walks 3 and hits a batter, and he gives up 4 runs because Fleming comes in, hits a guy on a walk, and then now there's a delay, and it's 6-6. The Cubs have scored 5 runs because they walked 4 guys in the inning. So now the delay
Oh my
ends,
god!
and here comes Suzuki, who's back in the lineup, and he walks. And then the next guy comes up, and he walks. They walk 6 guys with the bases loaded. That hasn't happened in 70 years. So 6 guys were walked with the bases loaded. The Cubs take now uh, what looks like a pretty comfortable 8-6 lead. Enter Keegan Thompson, who started out well, but
Hmm.
he's been up and down in the minors, and they bring him in. Yasmani Grandal hits a 3-run homer, just like that, with 2 outs, and just like that, the Pirates are up 9-8. The Cubs gave up 5 home runs this game, and
Wow.
McCutcheon hits one. That was the bottom of the fifth, and then McCutcheon hits one in the sixth, and it's 10-8. Now the Cubs threaten. They score one in the ninth, and they lead the tying runs on base, and tying and lead runs on base, and they lose 10-9. So the Cubs had 10 hits. They drew 10 walks. They scored 9 runs, and they lose by 1 run.
Yeah, so Steele gave up 6 earned runs, Thompson 3 earned runs, and Lovelady pitched 1 inning and gave up another run. Cub bullpen is struggling.
They need to get somebody, and I was looking at this guy. Have you heard of this guy, Mason Miller? Mason Miller with Oakland.
Mm-mm.
He was a third-round draft pick in 2021 out of a small college. Anyway, he's pitched 13 games this year. I was scouring other teams to see, as my job makes me do,
Mm-hmm.
to see what would be a good. This guy in 13 games has 33 strikeouts and 16 in the third innings, 4 walks, 7 hits.
Is he a closer?
Yeah, he's a closer, 0.67 whip, no home runs given up. Unlike Alzolay, who's probably given up 6 or 7 by now. But anyway, I don't know what the Cubs would have to give up for this guy from Oakland. Probably 2 or 3 prospects, but the Cubs have a lot of good prospects.
What would the Cubs give the Cardinals for Helsley? Because I think he's going to go.
That's a tough to go to make a trade within your own division like that.
You got to pay him next year too.
I think the Cubs would probably give up Leon Durham and Ken Reitz, I would believe.
If you throw in Ty Waller, you got a deal. Because I heard he's got a really good arm.
That was the Suter trade. Never mind. The Cubs are always, at that time, they're always about, we'll get quantity back instead of quality.
Yeah.
Although Durham did well for a while, but no, I think he liked the extra life out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think there was some rumors, Tommy, of nose candy. Yeah,
Did he buy it from Keith Hernandez?
I believe he did. First base to first base. I remember seeing them making a deal over there when.
Yeah.
No, he moved in to make sure he got hit by the pitch so he could run, and he ran really fast on Hernandez and said, "What you got?" You know.
Yeah.
So the Cubs are faced now Sunday, the 12th, of May, with another rubber game.
The Cubs have had 3 really brutal losses, and they've had to come back from. But to their credit, they're able to do it.
They seem to do it. And here's Kyle Hendricks back, and now I don't know what to expect. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
uh-oh, he's had such a poor start.
Are you sure it was Kyle Hendricks or was it Craig Counsell out there wearing Kyle Hendricks' uniform?
Wow. They both throw 78 miles an hour. Your guess is as good as mine. But he comes back, Tommy, and he goes through 5 innings. He's not bad. 2 hits allowed. He strikes out 5. 4 walks though, and he gives up another homer. Pitched well enough to drop his ERA down to 10.04.
I saw that.
Cubs are up 2-1, and then Lovelady comes in and quickly makes sure that Hendricks doesn't get the win, and he gives up the tying run. But the Cubs put men on, including second and third, 2 outs in the ninth, but they don't score. And here comes, in the bottom of the ninth, Pittsburgh comes up, and here comes Heart Attack. Hector Nervous Neris, and he gets out of a bases loading jam, including going 3-1 on the batter with the bases loaded. And we talked about Nico Horner's defense. He saves the game earlier in the inning. There was a guy on second. There was a ground ball at the middle. He dove to catch the ball. If that goes in the outfield, this game is over.
Oh,
He
yeah. I
dove
saw
and
that.
stopped it. The guy in second has to stop at third, but he keeps him at third,
Yeah, that was the ball game.
and they get out of the inning. Bellinger gets ahead. It comes up 3-2. Raldis Chapman's in there, and he realizes he doesn't have the stuff. He's like, "Oh, my finger hurts. I got a blister." Wisdom hits a home run. It's 4-2. They come in, they load the bases, and here's the big thing: with 2 outs, there was a pass ball. Now the Cubs have a 3-run lead.
Oh, that's right.
Because it was a big deal. Because who comes in at the bottom of the 10th? Owsley, Adbert Owsley. He comes in at 10 to close it. And immediately, because they have a guy on second base, like we talked about the rule change, immediately he gets up a 2-run home run. And then he walks a guy. And then he somehow gets 3 outs. And the Cubs win 5-4. How that happened, I don't know.
They had nobody else to bring out of the pen.
I was listening to the game. Owsley's in. It's 5-4. They got a guy on first. And they said it's his game to win or lose. Somehow he got it out. He's just laying the ball up there, though. He's just giving up home runs right and left. It's just not.
He's not. He's not very good.
He's not very good. And luckily, it was the Pirates, and they're not playing very well. And the Cubs somehow win, so they finish week 3-3 with a day off in the middle, and now they head to a tough start in Atlanta. But on this weekend, Talion, how do you say his name, Tom?
I've heard Talion or Tayon.
Talion. I never know how to say it. But anyway, he was supposed to go Friday, and he didn't pitch all weekend. And I think he might have a bad back again. So I was looking at the Cubs transaction this week. Justin Steele came back. Keegan Thompson went down on Monday. Bellinger was back. Palencia went down. Canario went down, the outfielder. And Keegan Thompson came back. And then Friday, Suzuki came back. But here, Dansby Swanson goes out with a knee strain
Right.
that he's been dealing with for a while.
That was actually a good trade because Swanson's been really struggling, and probably because of his knee. He's not been hitting. He really hasn't been producing anything. As Suzuki, get him back. So you let Swanson rest. Maybe he comes back at full strength, and he's the old Dansby.
Right. And luckily, the Cubs have a guy who was a Gold Glove shortstop, and Nico Horner, who can move over.
So the Cubs are in Atlanta for 3, then off Thursday, and then the Pirates come to Wrigley. Cardinals are in Anaheim, day off Thursday, and then the Red Sox are coming to St. Louis.
Now, if the Cardinals manager shows up in against the Angels and he's got a mohawk, what do you think? Do you think he'll be?
That would be a good omen because they'd fire Ollie.
Who's going to take over? Who's that guy? Who's that first base coach? Buster Crab or Stubby?
Yeah, Stubby Clapp.
Yeah, Stubby. Stubby Clapp.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because I was like, well, who would take over? Well, not Daniel Descalso. He's like first year bench coach. Not Turner Ward because he's probably going to go down the shitter with Marmol when everybody's
Yeah.
ready to send him out of town. And yeah, so it would be Stubby Clapp. Yeah, hey, that guy won AAA titles. I'm surprised nobody ever stole him away. If he was more than 5'3", he probably would be a manager somewhere.
I think the Cubs were looking at Stubby Clapp at one point. But you know what? Baseball needs more players and managers and coaches named Stubby Clapp. Sounds like a guy from the 1940s, doesn't it? And here comes Stubby Clapp. I think he's about pretty much done with that pitcher today. I don't think Stubby Clapp's going to let Gibson in for any more than the 176 pitches that he's already thrown. Stubby Clapp is coming out. He's seen enough. He's going to pat Bob Gibson on the back. And Bob Gibson turns and good job, fella.
I was hoping they were going to hire him when they said Schilt was gone.
Schilt was in the organization for a while, wasn't he?
Schilt's a lifer Cardinal, man. He cried crocodile tears when they fired him. I was reading up on that the other day about how, even years later, it's still so painful to him to have been ushered out of the Cardinal organization after 30 years of devotion.
Yeah.
All the guy did was win when he was their manager.
I know. It wasn't like he was losing. He did well.
I think he has like the highest winning percentage of a Cardinal manager in history. And he pissed off Mo.
With the Mohawk?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about firings. I was thinking about how Schilt got fired because Schilt had just finished up a season where he was a finalist for manager of the year, which, by the way, he won the previous year. Okay, and he gets a call from Mozeliak, and the quote at the beginning of the call was, "Mike, this call's not going to go the way you think it's going to go." That's how he introduced the call. Schilt had thought they were going to call him and offer him an extension.
Right.
He was 100% convinced, and then he says, "Hey, we've decided to go another direction. We're tired of winning, so you're out, Schilty." And Schilt said, he couldn't believe it. He was just, felt like a ton of bricks had been dumped on him. And he said he went in the other room to tell his wife, and his wife just started laughing because she thought he was just making a bad joke. But he said, "No, I'm not joking. I just got fired."
Maybe she laughs at him a lot. Are you suggesting that the Cardinals manager Marmol does not get a mohawk?
If I was Marmol, I'd be letting my hair grow all over my head. So Davis, I think with that, I don't want you to miss the beginning of this Cubs-Braves game, and Mr. Imanaga.
I have a great responsibility to our listeners. It just never ends, Tommy.
One thing I always say, Davis, is with great consumption comes great responsibility. So go enjoy that ball game, and we'll wrap it up for this week. I want to say good night to all the folks out there. Good night, folks. Say good night, Davis.
Good night, Davis.